Hello guys, how are you today? I hope the vacation was wonderful and Merry Christmas for those who celebrated and Happy New Year for everyone. I'm just recording this video in advance because why not? Anyways, I would just like to say that for this AMS, the math AMS of term 2, week 4, okay? We're not gonna be using calculators as it's not allowed. It's not really tricky, it's gonna be easy, hopefully. And let's just start, okay? The above function D models the distance in meters Jerry has to swim to reach the end line in a competition after swimming for 40 seconds. About how many meters can Jerry swim each second? Now, what we need to know is that we can do this in two ways, okay? Now, the first way would be to put it that, okay, looking at this function, it is a linear function. So that means Jerry, he already swam a 50 meters. So let's say Jerry already swam 50 meters. But what are they doing? They are subtracting from this 50 meters by each second that he can swim. Or in other terms, if you don't want to put it like this, we can say that this is the pool. The total length of the pool is 50 meters. This is the start. This is the end. But Jerry, he is in which direction? He is in the opposite direction. He is over here. So he's starting the opposite way. He's already at 50 meters and he is decreasing. He's going the opposite way. Okay, so the two ways to do this is either first, you draw and you try to understand what is happening. Like in this case, we drew and we understood from this function that Jerry, he started at the end and he's going backwards. So if we were to substitute 1 second, okay, so the function is dt is equal to minus 0.08 time plus 50. If we substituted 1, it's minus 0.08 times 1 plus 50, which is 49.92. Okay, but here is the tricky part. You may think that Jerry swims each second 49.92 meters, which is practically impossible for an average human being to swim this per second, okay? But instead, since he started at the end, he is at 50, that means he moved here to 49.92. How much he actually really traveled was 50 minus 49.92, which is 0.08. All right? So, in total, we can say that Jerry swam 0.08. Or another way that we were taught in school was to take it the derivative way. Now, to take it the derivative way, what we are going to do is we are going to find the derivative. Just very simply, to find the derivative, if we have a function x to the power of n, its derivative is going to be n to the power of x n minus 1. So let's say you have 4x to the power of 3. The derivative is going to be 4 times 3, which is 12, x to the power of 3 minus 1, which is 2. Very simply, this is the derivative. Now, taking this function, a linear function, we're going to put the derivative. So, minus 0.08t. T is to the power of 1. It's going to be minus 0.08 times 1, okay, multiplied by t to the power of 1 minus 1, which is 0. So the derivative of this is going to be minus 0.08, very simply. 50, however, it is, let us say, t to the power of 0, because anything to the power of 0 is 1. Now, finding its derivative, it's going to be 50 times 0 multiplied by t to the power of 0 minus 1. But anything times 0 is 0, so very simply, it is 0. And we get that the derivative is minus 0.08. So we can say that Jerry swam each second minus 0.08 meters, but can he swim negative meters? Well, in this case, yes, because he's starting at the end, but in more logical sense, he cannot. So we're just going to put it in absolute value, and very simply, Jerry swam 0.08 meters. Now we move on to question number 2. Alan lives in a town at an altitude of 500 feet above sea level. Let us say that sea level is 0, the initial level, okay? 500 feet above sea level is the fixed altitude that we have. He drives from his home, his house, I mix them together, sorry, his home, uphill a mountainous road to visit a friend. So for each 3-mile drive, every 3 miles, the altitude increases by 50 feet. So what about 1 mile? It increases by 50 divided by 3 feet. Now they're telling us in feet, Alan's altitude in feet relative to sea level, the initial, after driving X miles from home is very simply the fixed altitude that was already from his home, which is 500 feet. They said build a function h, so h is equal to the 500 feet that is already above sea level from Alan's house, in addition to what he's driving 50 divided by 3 feet. The altitude is increasing 50 divided by 3 feet for every mile he is driving. So 50 divided by 3x. Okay, x is the miles he is driving. And we said per mile he is driving, like the altitude is increasing 50 divided by 3. So very simply, x miles, the altitude increases by 50 divided by 3 times x. So the final function is h is equal to 500 plus 50 divided by 3x. Moving on to question number 3. This is a very simple question. Now, the given function is graphed in the xy plane. Find the axis intercepts and the slope of its graph. Slope or gradient means the same thing. So whether they ask you for the slope or the gradient, it's just going to be the number next to x. But remember, this is only the case if y is like 1. It is a singular y. In this case, it is a singular y. So we are going to take the slope as the number next to x. In this case, it is -2. Now, the x-intercept is when y is equal to 0. So in this case, it is 0 because fx is equal to y. So x-intercept is when y is equal to 0. Just remember, it is x, y. So here y is going to be 0. So 0 is equal to -2x plus 3. Move 3 to the other side. -3 is equal to -2x. So then x is equal to 3 over 2, which is 1.5. So 1.5 and 0. Okay, so here we have 1.5 and 0. The y-intercept, however, is when x is equal to 0. We just need to find the y. So x is 0. If x is 0, then fx, which is also equal to y, that means y is equal to -2x plus 3. And we said that the y-intercept means x is 0. So y is equal to -2 times 0 plus 3. That means y is equal to 3. That means our y-intercept is then 3. Alright, so now we move on to question number 4. This is also a really important question. Now, the first thing we're gonna do when looking at a question like this is this is the first thing we're gonna do. Whenever we face a question like this, we are gonna look at the x-intercepts, okay? In this case, we have only one singular x-intercept, which is -3. In other cases, there are many more x-intercepts, which we might encounter later on. But in this case, we have only one singular x-intercept, which is -3. That means when looking at the functions, we should have two conditions. The first condition is that we have one root, because that means we have one x-intercept. Okay, one root means it is raised to the first power, so raised to first power. And then the second condition is that the root is equal to -3. So let us see if these apply to our conditions. Starting off with the first function. We have x plus 3 equals to 0, x is equal to -3. First condition is solved. Okay, first condition is fulfilled. Now the second condition, x to the power of 2 plus 9 is equal to 0, x to the power of 2 is equal to -9. Not possible. Also, that is correct because it is one singular root and they are raised to the first power. So that means the first one is a possibility. Moving on to the second one, we have x minus 3. X minus 3 equals to 0, x is equal to 3. X squared minus 9 equals to 0, x squared is equal to plus or minus 3. Now here we have that the root is equal to -3 is correct, but there is two roots, not one root, so this does not pass. Okay, Moving on to the third one, we're gonna go to x minus 3. So again, x minus 3 is equal to 0, x is equal to 3. But then x squared plus 9 is equal to 0, x squared is equal to minus 9. This is impossible, okay? So it does not fulfill any of these conditions, so it is not possible. Now, the last and final one, which is this one, is x plus 3 is equal to 0, so x is equal to minus 3. It fulfills this condition, but it is not raised to the first power, it's raised to the third power. So it is incorrect, and that leaves us with our answer being this option. Moving on to question number 5. Write an equation in standard form to represent the function graphed above in the interval between 0 and 4. So what we are going to do in this case is we are going to choose 2 points. So we're going to choose this point over here and this point over here. I'm going to change the color. Now this point over here is 4, 0, and this point over here is 0, 5. Now what we can do next is to find the slope or gradient. Very simply, finding the slope is y minus y over x minus x. So 5 minus 0 divided by 0 minus 4, which gives us a slope of minus 5 over 4. Okay, now if you go back to this function over here, you have the x. Let's take the basic function, basic linear function, which is y is equal to ax plus b. We have that the number next to x is minus 5 over 4. So y is equal to minus 5 over 4x plus b. Now what did they do? They made a number next to x and a number next to y, and they moved x to the other side. And they made it that b is 20. So what possibly they have done is that they multiplied the whole function by 4. So that gives us 4y is equal to minus 5x, because when you multiply it by 4, you're going to remove this 4, okay, plus 4b. If you move minus 5x to the other side, you are going to get 5x plus 4y is equal to 4b. And they told us 4b is equal to 20, so 5x plus 4y is equal to 20. And this is our final function, so 5x plus 4y is equal to 20. Okay, so now we move on to question number 6. A linear function is defined such that fx decreases by 8 units for every 4 units increase in x. So they're telling us every 4 units decrease, there is 8 units. Actually, sorry, I read it wrong. Every 4 units increase, there is 8 units decrease. What about 1 unit increase? That means it is 8 divided by 4 units decrease, which means 1 unit increase gives us 2 units decrease. All right? They told us the graph of fx in the xy plane has a y-intercept. The y-intercept being our fixed point, or in other terms, if we are doing y is equal to ax plus b, the basic linear function, because they told us it is a linear function. We have b, which is fixed, which is going to be 200 in this case. So we already have y is equal to ax plus 200. Then they told us that this linear function f is defined, okay? What does define mean? Define means its slope or gradient, okay? Such that fx decreases by 8 units for every 4 units increase. And after solving it, we got that 1 unit increase gives us 2 units decrease. So in other terms, the slope is gonna be 2. But it's not gonna be only 2, it's gonna be negative 2 because it's decreasing by 2 units. So that leaves us with y is equal to minus 2x plus 200, or in another format they wrote it like this, it's 200 minus 2x. So very simply our answer is 200 minus 2x. Moving on to question number 7. This is a really nice question. It might require some critical thinking. It's just like a fun trick to make your brain work a bit. Now, what I need you guys to know is that it's not always gonna be my way or your way or anybody's way. It can be everyone's way. So if you have another way that you find way easier than mine, then yes, apply it. I prefer you would apply it because it would be better for you to apply it. But personally, I find this way easier. And my way goes something like this. So let's choose a different color. Let's say blue. They told us that at a time of A, okay, time of A, we had a distance of 65. However, at a time of A plus 15, so in 15 minutes, what happened? It decreased from 65, the distance decreased from 65 to 57. So in 15 minutes, how much did the distance decrease by? It was originally 65 minus 57. So 5 minus 7 is 15, 8, 5, 0. So in 15 minutes, it decreased a distance of 8 kilometers. Okay? But now they told us in this part over here, it became A plus 45. So time became A plus 45. How much will the distance become? In 15 minutes, the distance decreases by 8 kilometers. What about 45 minutes? What happened? They told us that the relationship between D and T is linear. So even if they are in the opposite direction, if this one is increasing and this one is decreasing, whatever happens to the T will also happen to the D. So the time changed from 15 minutes to 45 minutes. That is a times 3. That means the distance will change from 8 kilometers to 8 times 3 kilometers, which is 24. That means from the original distance, which is 65, we decreased 24 kilometers, so minus 24. 5 minus 4 is 1, and 6 minus 2 is 4. That means the value of k is 41. Okay, so in other terms, what I'm trying to say is that the change in time, okay, so A is the fixed time, okay, and D is the fixed distance. But then, as you go through, there is a change in time and a change in distance. Here, the change in distance is minus 8, so we're gonna do, this is 65 minus 8. That means the change in distance, whatever will happen to the change in distance will happen to the change in time. And whatever happens to the change in time will happen to the change in distance. So in this case, it was plus 15, it became times 3 plus 45. It was minus 8, it becomes times 3 minus 24. And this gives us a value of 41. Now moving on to question number 8. Now here for this question, you guys have to memorize the trigonometric table, okay? The trigonometric angles table, all right, for the sine, cosine, tangent, etc. So far, what you guys need to know, I'm just gonna search it up 1 sec. You guys have to memorize this table. So you have to memorize that sine of the angle is what? So going back to our quiz, they need sine of the angle gives us radical 3 over 2. So coming back here, what gives us radical 3 over 2? 60 degrees. Now, what's nice about this is that 60 degrees does not only mean 60 degrees, it could be plus 180, minus 180, plus 360, or minus 360, all depending on whatever it is. So in this case, it can either be 120 or, sorry, not 120. Actually, it can be negative 120 minus 120, or 240, or 420, or 300. So any of these values, identities, can also work for this, I'm assuming. So let us check. Now here is the thing, how do we check? Now first thing we need to do is, after memorizing the table, we're gonna convert from radians, so this is originally in radians, we're gonna convert it to degrees. Now to convert it from radians to degrees, very simply substitute the pi by 180. So it becomes minus 180 divided by 3, which gives us minus 60. Minus 60 was not one of our options, so we are not gonna choose it. Moving on, we have minus 2 pi over 3, so that's minus 2 times 180 divided by 3. So that's minus 120, which also wasn't any of our options, so we are not gonna choose it. Now, 7 times pi divided by 360, so 7 times pi divided by 3, so 7 times 180 divided by 3, which is 7 times 60, which is 420, which was one of our options, so definitely, yes, we are gonna choose it. Then we have pi over 3, 180 divided by 3, which is then 60, so yes, for sure, we are gonna choose it. And then finally, we have 2 pi over 3, which is 2 times 180 divided by 3, which is 120 degrees. So definitely, yes, this is also one of our options. So we're gonna choose it. All right, so now we're gonna move on to question number 9. Whenever they tell us symmetric about the origin, this means it is odd. However, when they tell us symmetric about y-axis, this means it is even. So when they are asking us for odd, very simply what we need to do is we can substitute it by either 1 or minus 1. Now, if they give you opposing answers, then yes, this is correct. That means, for example, if we have 2x is our function, and we need to check, is this odd or is it even? If we substitute 1 and minus 1, which is the same number but different signs, we're gonna get 2 times 1, which is 2, and then 2 times minus 1, which is minus 2. Since they are both the same value but just different signs, then definitely it is an odd function. Even function, on the other hand, we're gonna take 1 and minus 1, and then we are gonna substitute. So let's say we are talking about x to the power of 4. Okay, if we're gonna substitute 1, it's 1 to the power of 4, which is 1. Or minus 1, it's minus 1 to the power of 4, which is also 1. So if they give you the same answer, if they are like 1 and minus 1 or 2 and minus 2, and you put them in your function and they give you the same answer, then it is even. Okay, this is a way for cases like this, but in other cases, when they progress even harder, there will be some other different techniques we will learn on how to find them and etc. To find out if it's even and odd. Now, the most important thing we have to know is that when they say symmetric about the origin, this means it is odd. All right, so how do we check if it is odd? First thing, they gave us a hint saying that we have 3 correct options. But how do we check if it's odd or not? Very simply, to check if it is odd or not, we are going to take 2 values. We're going to say, for example, to change from 1 and minus 1, we are going to take 2 and minus 2. They are the same values but opposing numbers. In the sense that the same number but okay, I said it wrong. The same number but different signs. Okay, so hopefully it will be easier in this case. So let's say y is equal to this. Let us try to solve it. We have, first thing, to substitute it with 2. So 2 to the power of 3 divided by 2 to the power of 2 plus 1, which then gives us 8 divided by 4 plus 1, which is 8 over 5. However, the next thing we are going to do is we're going to substitute it with minus 2. So it becomes minus 2 to the power of 3 divided by minus 2 to the power of 2 plus 1, which then gives us minus 8 divided by 4 plus 1, which is minus 8 over 5. If you noticed, they gave us the same number but different signs. Here it's supposed to be plus. So the same number but different signs. That means definitely it is odd. Next thing we are going to do is we're going to continue playing the game. Let's say it's a game, the game of odd or not. Now, since we already chose 2 and minus 2, let us stick with 1 and minus 1 since it's like always easier and it saves a lot of time. So moving on to this one, let us play the game if it is odd or not. First thing we're going to do is we're going to substitute 1. So substituting 1, we are going to get 1 to the power of 2 divided by 1 to the power of 2 plus 1, which then gives us 1 over 1 plus 1, which is 2. If we put opposing, so minus 1, it's going to be minus 1 to the power of 2 divided by minus 1 to the power of 2 plus 1, which then gives us 1 over 1 plus 1, which is 2. So if you noticed, they gave us the same result. Same exact number, and same exact sign, so that means it is not odd. We're gonna check not. And so far we know that it is not odd. Moving on to the next one, we are gonna continue the game of odd or not. Alright, and again, we are going to choose the two numbers, 1 and -1. Starting off with number 1, we're going to have 1 to the power of 1 divided by 1 to the power of 2 plus 2 times 1. This gives us 1 divided by 1 plus 2, which is 3. So 1 divided by 3. Now, if we substitute -1, we are going to get -1 to the power -1 divided by -1 to the power of 2 plus 2 times -1. And we're gonna get -1 divided by 1 minus 2, so -1. -1 divided by -1 is 1. Now look here. Here they are totally different numbers, so it's not odd, not even. So we're gonna say it is not odd. Okay, moving on to the next one, this one over here. We will continue if it is odd or not. Let us choose 1 and -1, since it's the most convenient two options. So 1 divided by 1 to the power of 2 plus 1 gives us 1 over 2. However, if we are doing -1 to the power of -1 divided by -1 to the power of 2 plus 1, this gives us -1 divided by 2. So look, the same exact numbers, 1 over 2, but different signs. This is plus, this is minus. So that means it's definitely odd. Now, moving on to this one over here. We're going to play again odd or not. We are going to choose 1 and -1. So 2 times 1 divided by 1 to the power of 2 plus 1. This gives us 2 divided by 2, which is 1. Now, if we tried with -1, we're going to have 2 to the power of -1 divided by -1 to the power of 2 plus 1. Okay, it is equal to -2 divided by 2, which is -1. So -1 and 1, they are like the same number, 1 and 1, but different signs. So this is plus, this is minus. So definitely it is odd. And these are the 3 correct options. Alright, so now we move on to question number 10. Here they are telling us what's symmetric about the y-axis. Guys, I probably would speed this up so it wouldn't be too boring for you. But when they say symmetric about the y-axis, this means even. Now, I'm sorry for this video, it's really long because we have 31 questions, sadly. So anyways, so when they tell us symmetric about the y-axis, they tell us even. That means we are going to play the game even or not. Now, to play the game even or not, it's the same thing as odd or not. We're going to choose 2 numbers, 1 and -1. They have to be the same numbers but different signs. Okay, but here's the trick. If they do not give you the same thing, that means they are not even. Instead, what they should give you is the same exact number, okay? And that means they are even. So starting off with the first one, we are going to play even or not. We chose the 2 numbers, 1 and -1. Okay? So substituting it, we are going to get 1 to the power of 2 divided by 1 to the power of 2 plus 1. So that means it is 1 over 1 plus 1, which is 2. Now, substituting -1, it is -1 to the power of 2 divided by -1. This is -1 to the power of 2 plus 1. Okay, sorry, it is equal to 1 divided by 2 as well. So, since they are the same exact number with the same exact sign, that means it is even. Moving on to the next one, we are going to substitute 1 and -1. So we are going to get 1 to the power of 3 divided by 1 to the power of 2 plus 1. That means it gives us 1 divided by 2. However, if we did -1 to the power of 3 divided by -1 to the power of 2 plus 1, we are going to get -1 over 2. So even though they are the same number, they do not hold the same sign, so they are not even. They are odd. Moving on to the next one, again, we are going to do the same thing, putting 1 and -1. So 1 divided by 1 to the power of 2 plus 2 times 1. This gives us 1 divided by 3. Now, if we substitute minus 1, it's gonna be minus 1 divided by minus 1 to the power of 2 plus 2 times minus 1, which gives you minus 1 divided by minus 1, which is 1. So definitely it's not even, not odd, because they are two different numbers. Moving on to this one over here, it's 1 divided by 1 to the power of 2 plus 1, which is 1 over 2. And then 1 divided by minus 1 to the power of 2 plus 1, which is also 1 over 2. So this is even. Okay, and now for the last and final one, we're going to substitute 1 and minus 1. So 1 divided by 1 squared plus 1, this gives us 1 over 2. However, minus 1 divided by minus 1 squared plus 1, this gives us minus 1 over 2. So it's definitely not even, it is odd. So these are our two correct answers. Moving on to question number 11. Now, what you guys need to know for this is that sine squared x is equal to 1 minus cosine squared x. And cosine squared x is equal to 1 minus sine squared x. Alright, so we are talking about the value of sine squared x. They gave us the value of cosine x. Very simply, what we are going to do is we are going to find the value of cosine squared, okay? Because we are given cosine x, we can find the value of cosine squared x. And then if we do 1 minus that answer, we are going to get the value of sine squared x. So very simply, we're going to put in this equation. So sine squared x is equal to 1 minus cosine squared x. Cosine x is 12 over 13. However, cosine squared x is 12 over 13 squared, which is 144 divided by 169. Now, to find the value of sine x, we are going to do 1 minus this. The 1, we can change it into 169 divided by 169 because we are applying common denominator. So sine squared x is equal to 169 divided by 169 minus 144 divided by 169. Now again, 169 minus 144, 9 minus 4 is 5, 6 minus 4 is 2. So that leaves us with 25 over 169. So the value of sine squared x is 25 over 169. Moving on to question number 12. Again, what we need to know for this one is that secant squared x is equal to 1 plus tangent squared x. Alright? And then tangent squared x is equal to secant squared x plus minus 1. Now, very simply, looking at this, we can see secant squared x, tan x, and 20. Now, when we have an equation like this, we can either have all secant, all tangent, all cosine, all sine. But in this case, we have what? Secant and tangent, so that's not gonna work. We need to change one of them. So to change one of them, what we are gonna do, we are gonna observe, we are gonna scan, and we are gonna see which one is possible of changing. In this case, it is the secant squared, so because you cannot change the tangent. Tangent will always stay tangent. But the secant squared, you can change it into 1 plus tangent squared x. So secant squared x becomes 1 plus tangent squared x minus 22 tangent x plus 20 is equal to 0. So then that leaves us with tangent squared x minus 22 tangent x plus 21, because it is 1 plus 20 is equal to 0. And very simply, we can apply the product sum method. We have a product of 21 and a sum of minus 22. So what two numbers could it be? It could be minus 21 times minus 1. So minus 21 times minus 1 gives us a product of 21. And then minus 21 minus 1 gives us a sum of 22. That means, in other terms, we will get our answer to be x minus 21 and then x minus 1. But this is not our final answer. We need to solve it. So then it becomes x is equal to 21, and then x is equal to 1. Now, looking at our answers over here, we will see that they already gave us one of the answers, which is tangent x is equal to 1. That means we found the other answer, which is tangent x is equal to 21. So that means the value of k is then 21. Moving on to question number 13. The scatter plot below shows the average grade on a math test during a given week versus the number of hours spent watching TV during this week. The line of best fit is also drawn. Okay. The teacher assigned a letter for each of the students who took the test as shown below. The correlation in the scatter diagram is, looking at the scatter diagram, you can see that it is a strong negative diagram. That's too easy, there's nothing too much to explain about it. Now, if the number of hours is represented by x and the average by y, then the equation of the line of best fit is blank x plus 4y. Okay, so very simply what I recommend doing is to find the equation of the line. First thing we're gonna do is we are gonna find the slope. Then we're gonna substitute the slope in the basic line equation, which is y is equal to ax plus b. So very simply, to find the slope, we're gonna choose two random points. In this case, it's 1290. And then the second point is gonna be 2060. Okay, so to find the slope, we're gonna do y minus y, so 60 minus 90 divided by x minus x, 20 minus 12. So in this case, it's minus 30 divided by 8, which is minus 15 over 4. So we have our slope, which is minus 15 over 4. And we know that the slope is always the number next to x. So y is equal to minus 15 divided by 4x plus b. Now, if you go back, they made it in a big equation. They made x a whole number. They gave a number next to y, and they moved x to the other side. So very simply, in other terms, they simplified it by multiplying the full equation by 4. So multiplying it all by 4, you are going to get 4y is equal to minus 15x plus 4b. We're going to move minus 15x to the other side, and we are going to get 15x plus 4y is equal to 4b. Now, we don't stop there, okay? We still need to find the value of 4b because it is missing for us. To find it, very simply, we're going to take any of the points we've chosen, which is 2060, and we are going to substitute it. So in this case, it's going to be 15 times 20 plus 4 times 60 is equal to 4b. So 300 plus 240 is equal to 4b. So then 4b is equal to 540. And like that, we have the full equation, which is 15x plus 4y is equal to 540. So 15x plus 4y is equal to 540. Alright, now very simply, based on the line of best fit, the expected score for a person who spends 12 hours watching TV during the week of the test is, going back up to the graph, 12 hours spent gives you a score of 90. So 90 is the answer. Now finally, the model grade. Model grade means the most occurring grade. So we're gonna go up, okay? And we are gonna see in which points is it the most occurring grade. And looking at it really carefully, you will see it's between 80 and 90. And going down, a grade between 80 and 90 is a B. So B is the most occurring, or the modal letter grade, because mode or modal means the most occurring. Moving on to question number 14. Now, okay, sorry guys, I apologize for the wait. I had to go do something, but anyways, by the wait, I mean like the extended time. As you see, this time here is not the actual time of the video, because I had to pause what I was doing and come back. Anyways, for this equation over here, this question, by the way, is not as easy as you think it is. First thing we need to do is find two things, the slope and the y-intercept. Now, the easiest thing to start with first is the slope. to find the slope, the very first thing we'll need to do is find the derivative. Okay? Finding the derivative, it is going to be 3x to the power of 2 plus 8x. This is our derivative. Now, to find the slope, we are going to substitute x as 2. So, 3 times 2 to the power of 2 plus 8 times 2. That is 3 times 4, so 12 plus 16, which is then 28. So now we have our slope, which is 28. Now, however, the y-intercept is a bit trickier. Okay? They told us that at an x of 2, we need to find the y-intercept. How can we find the y-intercept if we don't know what our y is? Very good question. That's why we need to find our y. To find our y, we're just gonna substitute the x in this equation. So y is equal to 2 to the power of 3 plus 4 times 2 to the power of 2 plus 10, which will result in a 34. Next thing we are gonna do is we're gonna substitute the x in this equation. We have it as y is equal to ax plus b. Y is equal to 28 times x plus b. So in this case, y is equal to 28 times 2, which is 56 plus b. We got our y to be 34. So 34 is equal to 56 plus b. So then b is equal to 34 minus 56. So then b is then equal to minus 22. They already put a minus for us, so there is no need to put the minus. So in this case, our y-intercept is then 22. So we have a slope of 28 and a y-intercept of 22. Again, I will repeat step by step what we did. We need to find two things, the slope and the y-intercept. First thing, to find the slope, we are going to find derivative. After finding the derivative, we are going to substitute what is given. Okay, and like that, we would have found the slope. Now, the y-intercept is a totally different thing. To find the y-intercept, first thing, we need to find y. After finding y, we need to substitute. Meaning, we're going to substitute the value of x in x. Then after that, you would find the y-intercept. So very simply, this is how we solve these types of questions. Moving on to question number 15, they are talking about symmetric, about the origin. When we are talking about the origin, that means it is odd. In odd, both x and y change. So definitely when we are talking symmetric about the origin, then both x and y change. Change meaning by their signs. So minus 6 will become 6 and minus 8 will become 8. So very simply, it is 6 and 8. Moving on to question number 16, they are looking for the vertical asymptote. Remember, when we are talking about the vertical asymptote, we move horizontally. That means vertical asymptote means the x asymptote, if you want to say it in other terms. So when we are talking about the x asymptote, that means we are taking this. There's no such thing as an x asymptote, but this is a way I remember it. X asymptote means we are going to be taking the bottom, okay? When they are asking for the x-intercept, means we are going to be taking for the top. When they are talking about horizontal asymptote, I think I wrote it wrong, asymptote. Okay, that means in my terms, we are talking about the y-asymptote. Okay? And when we are talking about the y-asymptote, that means we are dividing these two numbers. However, when they are talking about the y-intercept, it means we are dividing these two numbers. Anyways, they're asking for the vertical asymptote, which in my own terms means the x-asymptote, which means we will be solving this at the bottom. So for x minus 40 is equal to 0. For x is equal to 40, x is equal to 10. Sorry, I paused for a second. Anyways, we get that x is equal to 10. Moving on to question number 17. Again, here we're talking about horizontal asymptote, vertical asymptote, y-intercept, and x-intercept. Horizontal asymptote, if you remember, I said we're gonna be doing it like this. That means it's 8 divided by 2, which is 4. Alright, vertical asymptote, as I said, we're going to be doing it like this. So 2x minus 4 is equal to 0, 2x is equal to 4, x is then equal to 2. So over here, the x is 2. Y-intercept, when we're talking about the y-intercept, that means we are dividing these two numbers. So 120 divided by minus 4, which is minus 30. And then it crosses the x-axis. When we are talking about the x-axis or x-intercept, that means we're solving the top. So 8x plus 120 is equal to 0. 8x is equal to minus 120. So then x is equal to minus 15. So very simply, x is minus 15. Moving on to question number 18, when they say symmetric about the y-axis, that means it is even. When we are talking about even, only the x is going to change. That means y is going to stay the same sign, okay? Only the x is going to change, meaning it will change from a minus 6 to a 6. All right, so it's going to be 6 and minus 8. Now, moving on to question number 19. This actually is not too hard, so it's a really nice question. Below is the graph of this big function. They're asking us for the positive root of fx is equal to 0. When they say fx is equal to 0, that means y is equal to 0. That means it should be the x-intercept. So on the x-intercept, they are asking us for the positive root. In this case, the positive root is 4. If you go down as well, they're asking for the negative root of fx equal to 0. So y equals 0, they're asking for the negative root. In this case, it's minus 3. So the positive root of fx being 0, meaning the x-intercept, or in other terms, y is 0, is 4. And the negative root is minus 3. Moving on to question number 20. Here, look what they said. They didn't say fx is equal to 0. Instead, they said fx is equal to 100. That means y is equal to 100. So we are going to go here and we are going to draw a line at the 100, okay? They told us there are 3 roots. The smallest root, the middle root, and the largest root. So drawing the line, we are going to find the smallest root to be approximately minus 3. The middle root to be almost minus 1, and then the biggest root to be approximately 7. So minus 3, minus 1, and 7 are the smallest, middle root, and largest root. So it is minus 3, minus 1, and 7. Finally, moving on to question number 21. To 2 decimal places, what is the value of cosine x if sine x is equal to radical 17 over 10 and x is between 90 and 180. Now this requires something we learned from before. If you remember the table, all students try cheating, okay? This means all is positive. This means only sine and cosecant is positive. This means only tangent and cotangent is positive. This means only cosine and secant is positive. Okay, and filling in the angles, it's 0, 90, 180, 270, and again 360. Okay, now if you pay attention to 2 decimal places, what is the value of cosine x if sine x is this and x is between this and this? Now, first thing we need to know is we are talking about cosine x. So is it positive or is it negative? They gave us a hint telling us that x is between 90 and 180. So between 90 and 180, only sine is positive. So that means our answer, first of all, is going to be a negative number. Now here in this case, I believe they mean cosine squared x, because otherwise it's not going to work. So let us solve for cosine squared x. We have sine x, which is radical 17 over 10. We need the value of cosine squared x, so that becomes 1 minus sine squared x. So 1 minus sine squared x, which is radical 17 over 10 squared. So 1 minus 17 divided by 100, which is then 83, because if you make it same denominator, it becomes 100 divided by 100 minus 17 over 100, which is 83 divided by 100. Now that we found cosine squared x, and we know that it is between 90 and 180, which means it's negative, just need to divide 83 by 100, which is 0.83. So our final answer is then negative 0.83. All right, that was a really nice question. Now we move on to question number 22. Again, this is something really easy. We have cosine squared x is equal to 1 minus sine squared x. And then sine squared x is equal to 1 minus cosine squared x. Now, very simply, looking again, we have 1 plus sine x is equal to minus cosine squared x. What we need to do is move this to the other side. Sorry now if my voice becomes a little bit weird because my throat is dry. I've been talking for almost an hour, but it's okay. Okay, so we're gonna move it to the other side. So 1 plus sine x plus cosine squared x is equal to 0. Now, looking at it, we have sine and cosine squared. That doesn't make sense. We can have only cosine or only sine. So which one can we change? We can change the cosine squared x. We can change it into sine squared x. So very simply it becomes 1 plus sine x plus 1 minus sine squared x. So that means it is 1 plus sine x plus 1 minus sine squared x. So then rearranging it in order, it is minus sine squared x plus sine x plus 2. And then since we are starting with a negative number, which I prefer not to, how do we get rid of the negative number? We just multiply it by negative 1, so it becomes plus sine squared x minus sine x minus 2. Now doing the product sum method, we're going to have a product of minus 2 and a sum of minus 1, which is minus 2 times 1 and minus 2 plus 1. That means it is x minus 2 and x plus 1. But to solve it, we're going to do this is equal to 0 and this is equal to 0. You are going to get x is equal to 2 and x is equal to minus 1. So very simply, they told us one of our answers is already minus 1. So that means K is the only answer left, which is 2. All right. So now we move on to question number 23. This is an easy question. I hope you guys know how to solve it by now. So they need the value of cosine squared x, so it's going to be 1 minus sine squared x. So 1 minus 9 over 25, 25 over 25 minus 9 divided by 25, 25 minus 9, 16. So the answer is not 61, sorry, 16. I clicked by accident when I was typing, so 16. Moving on to question number 24. Again, it's the same thing. It's gonna be 1 minus cosine squared. So 1 minus 144 divided by 169. That means it's gonna be 169 minus 144 over 169, which means it's approximately 25 over 169. So the answer over here is then 25. Moving on to question number 25. Here we have secant and tangent. We know that 1 plus tangent squared x is equal to secant squared x. So very simply, it's 1 plus 49 over 25. So that's 25 over 25 plus 49 over 25. That means it is not 64, 74 divided by 25. That means our answer over here is then 74. Okay, moving on to question number 26. We are given sine squared x. What is the value of 160 cosine squared x? That means, very simply, it is 160 multiplied by 1 minus sine squared x, which is already given, 3 over 8. So 160 times 5 divided by 8, which is 20 times 5, which is then 100. So 160 cosine squared x is equal to 100. Moving on to question number 27, they told us the scatter plot below displays the scores 12 students obtained on a test versus the number of hours each spent studying for the test. Based on the 9 of best fit, what exam score is expected for a student who studies for 7 hours? A student who studies for 7 hours will have an expected score of This is counted by 8. Please pay attention. So this is 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, 80, 88, and 96. So a student who studies 7 hours will get a score of approximately 88. Next up, we move on to question number 28. They are asking for the gradient. Now, very simply, the gradient means the slope, and to find the slope, we have to find the derivative. So let's find the derivative. It becomes y is equal to 12x to the power of 2. You guys have to practice how to do your derivatives, or else this is going to be a bit harder than usual. Okay, and then we just substitute it, so it becomes 12 times minus 2 to the power of 2. So 12 times 4, which is then 48. So the slope or the gradient is 48. Moving on to question number 29, it's the same case. The only thing we need to do is find the gradient, but we also need to find the derivative. So it is y is equal to 12x to the power of 3 plus 4x, okay, minus 4. And they told us to substitute minus 1. So it becomes 12 times minus 1 to the power of 3 plus 4 times minus 1, minus 4. So minus 12, minus 4, minus 4. So that leaves us with an answer of almost minus 20. So the gradient or the slope is basically minus 20. Okay, moving on to question number 30. We need to find the gradient. Now this may seem difficult at first, but once you solve it, it will look and it will be way easier than you imagine. So solving this one by itself, you are gonna get 6x to the power of 5 divided by 3. Then solving this one by itself, you are gonna get minus 28, and sorry, not 28, 24 x7 divided by 4. Now you can very simply divide them, so you're gonna get y is equal to 6 divided by 3, which is 2x to the power of 5, minus 24 divided by 4, which is 6x to the power of 7. Substituting minus 1, we are gonna get 2 times minus 1 to the power of 5, minus 6 times minus 1 to the power of 7, which is then minus 2 plus 6, which is, sorry for the voice cracks, I've been recording for an hour and my voice is almost gone, so I apologize, which is 4. So that means the gradient is supposed to be 4. Okay, so over here it is 4. And now for our last and final question. Again, it's asking for the slope or the gradient, so we need to find the derivative of this point. But here we have a small trick. And this small trick is that it is at the point of intersection with the y-axis. Whenever they say something like this, that means x is equal to 0. Because they are intersecting with the y-axis, that means our x is 0. Okay, so again, we need to find the gradient by finding the derivative first thing. So we are gonna get 12x to the power of 3 plus 11, okay? So you see how much easier it became after solving it many times. Now we said that the x is 0, so we're just gonna put 0 to the power of 3, 12 plus 11. That means the slope is equal to 11. Our answer is then 11, so let's submit, and hopefully after 1 hour there are no mistakes. And thank God there are no mistakes. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you had a wonderful vacation and a wonderful return to school.